Would everyone please rise?
Please remain standing for the singing of the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. Ah, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
You may be seated. Good morning. My name is Jaden Cato, and I've had the privilege of serving as student body president this year. On behalf of the faculty and staff of Reid Ross Classical School, we welcome you as we embark on the 37th graduation ceremony in honor of C. Reid Ross. Today is truly a day to celebrate as we recognize the accomplishments of each young man and woman in front of us. This year has been so different, to say the least. Special thanks goes out to every parent, guardian, supporting relative, and school staff member who went the extra mile to ensure that we were okay and that we learned. For your convenience, a professional photographer from LifeTouch Studios will photograph each graduate as they receive their diploma. Portraits will be available for viewing at events.lifetouch.com in 10 business days for you to view and purchase. At this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Parker, our principal, to the podium.
Good morning. On behalf of the faculty and staff of Reid Ross Classical School, we welcome you. Today is truly a great day, a day to celebrate as we recognize the accomplishments of the young men and women before us. First, I would like to introduce our honored guests joining us here on the stage. We'd ask that you please stand and be recognized. Superintendent of Cumberland County Schools, Dr. Marvin Connolly, Jr. Members of the Cumberland County Board of Education are Mr. Greg West, Chair, Ms. Deanna Jones, Vice Chair, Mrs. Alicia Chisholm, Mr. Charles McKellar, Mrs. Donna Van, Mr. Nathan Warfel, Mrs. Susan Williams, Mr. Mitch Colvin, Mayor Fayetteville. Representing the Superintendent's Cabinet, Dr. Mary Black, Associate Superintendent of Student Support Services. Dr. Jane Fields, Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Curriculum and Instruction. Mrs. Betty Musselwhite, Associate Superintendent of School Support. Mr. Ron Phipps, Associate Superintendent of Data and Accountability. Dr. Tanjay Robertson, Area Superintendent of High School Support. Dr. Lindsay Whitley, Associate Superintendent of Communications, Community Engagement, and Public Relations. Dr. Stacy Wilson Norman, Chief Academics Officer of Curriculum and Instructional Programs. Representing Reid Ross Classical High School, Assistant Principal, Ms. Kristen Etchison. Assistant Principal, Ms. Carmen McFarland. Student Council President, Jaden Cato. Class of 2022 Valedictorian, Nanushka Najanajan. And Class of 2022 Salutatorian, Michael Tichuk. Thank you. In order to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to hear and see all aspects of today's ceremony, and for those that may be watching from abroad, when we begin calling names, we ask that you quietly stand when you hear your graduate's name called. We respectfully ask that all guests refrain from whistling, calling out, or applauding, as it detracts from the dignity of this solemn occasion. And we want everyone to be able to hear their graduate's name called. I know today is more than just a special day. It is the day you as families celebrate the culmination of all the early mornings and car rider lines that are wrapped around the parking lot into the street. And I know as you sit in your seats today, you are reflecting on all those award day ceremonies, EOG and EOC nights, the open houses, the parent-teacher conferences, and all those after-school activities. And just for a moment, you think to yourself, if I could have back every dollar I spent on them since kindergarten, I'd be a millionaire right now. And I know you may be saying to yourself, Mr. Parker, I hear you, but you just don't understand. I have a shout down on the inside of me that just has to get out. Well, this is the final opportunity for the class of 2022 of Reid Ross to leave an indelible mark on the history and traditions of our school. So, in order to have a perfect graduation ceremony, as well as let your graduates know how much you love them and are proud of them, we're going to give you 15 seconds to shout, yell, and scream to the rafters for your graduates before we get started. And when I ask them to stand, class of 2022, please stand. All right. Awesome. All right, you got that out your system? Awesome. Thank you. To my graduates, today is an event that evokes different feelings and emotions. Excitement and anticipation of beginning a new phase of life. Sadness in leaving a place that has nurtured you for years. Trepidation in contemplating what lies ahead. For some, there will be great regret for what could have happened, and for others, joy and satisfaction for what has been achieved. Regardless of how you're feeling today, you've all been influenced by your time at Reid Ross Classical. The person you are today, to a significant degree, is the result of your interactions with the students and staff at Reid Ross and the experiences you've shared. You've probably been asked many times, at least enough times to find it annoying, what are you going to be or do when you leave school? And when asked that question, I'm sure that your mind turns to what type of further education you will apply for, or the job you want, or whether to have the nowadays popular gap year. And I'm sure you've received a great deal of very sensible, though no doubt often unsolicited advice, which of course you should take. What universities you should apply for, the jobs you should pursue, that guarantee employment. And I believe you should listen respectfully to this advice. But remember, this is your life. You're the one who must live, and you're the one who must make the choices that will bring you true happiness. We live in a society that is constantly seeking the secrets to true happiness. At times, it almost seems like an obsession. Don't get me wrong, happiness is important. But I believe it's just a byproduct of seeking something else. That something else, I believe, is to contribute to our communities in positive ways. We may not always be able to get into the courses we desire, or the universities we dream of attending, or find the job that never seems like work, or marry that one true love, or earn enough money to never want for any material thing. But we can always find ways to help and support and care for others. When any principal is preparing for a graduation speech, they're expected to impart some sage advice. And I'm sure you would expect me to talk about the importance of lifelong learning and hard work and always do your best. But I know you don't need to hear me to repeat that. You heard it many times before. But instead, in closing, I'm going to share with you 10 thoughts that the 18-year-old me would have benefited from heeding. Number one, don't underestimate kindness. It's a gift you can give to others, and it's totally free, and it brings you great rewards, not just to the receiver, but to the giver. Number 2, enjoy your successes, but avoid arrogance. Remember that you are one of 8 billion people in an ever-expanding universe. Number 3, most people are too worried about themselves to be worried about the mistakes you will make or the embarrassing situations that you have or will be in, so don't dwell on them. Number 4, surround yourself with good mentors. If you can't find any living ones, turn to those who have gone before us and have lived exemplary lives. The history books are full of them. Number 5, the grass is greener where you water it. Think about that. Number 6, don't be too proud to apologize, period. Number 7, positive relationships are at the heart of most successes in life, so invest in them. Number 8, don't get a credit card until you're actually ready to use one. Number 9, accept that life sometimes isn't fair. There's very little you're entitled to. Some failure will usually be experienced along the pathway to success. And finally, if you can only remember one of these, I'd go with number 1. I wish you all the very best with this next exciting phase of your life. Look back with fondness at the time you've spent at Reid Ross, and know that you will always be welcome. And remember, if no one else has told you they love you, know that Mr. Parker loves you. I truly do, from the bottom of my heart. Go make it an amazing life from the very best school in Cumberland County, Reid Ross Classical, home of the Cougars. And everyone said, go Cougars. Thank you. I'd like to welcome to the podium Salutatorian Michael Tichuk.
For the past 6 years, I've been at Reid Ross. From 6th grade until now, I've walked those halls countless times and entered each and every room countless more. I have experience under my belt when it comes to that place. I've seen people come and go, both faculty and students. But the thing about that place, in which we spend so much of our prosperous lives at, is that the Ross takes a little bit of you to stay with it, and you take a little bit of the Ross with you once you leave. Be it good or bad, I guarantee every single one of you has left a mark or a story to someone who works at the Ross, be it a teacher, administrator, janitor, or any other working personnel in which they will never forget what you left behind there. This mark that we as a class has left will stay in that school for generations and will never be forgotten. In that same regard, we who are leaving to make a mark in another place will always carry a small but also impossibly large piece of the Ross with us through life. In due time, whatever piece that the Ross has left with us will become, at the very least, a fond memory, and at the greatest, an inspiration for the rest of our lives. The marks that we as a class have left and taken will last indefinitely. Along with this, we have been told consistently how special, resilient, and unique our graduating class is. If you're like me, you might have overlooked these compliments as simple inspirational sayings that we just thank and move on. But we must truly believe the things said about us in order to embrace our destined potential. This class, this generation of students coming out of the Ross are going to make strides in not only our local community, but make our names known to the world and become essential in the field of our choosing. I wholeheartedly believe that each and every one of us will have our names known to the world for the great accomplishments we are fated to achieve. Our names will be known to history, and our titles will be emblazoned amongst the stars. Without further ado, please welcome Nanoshka Jonajon, our class valedictorian.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, class of 2022. It is my honor to be your valedictorian. Most of us sitting in this room have been with each other for over 4 years. Some of us has been together for more or less time. No matter how many years we spent together, we grew and matured as a class. And it's with this honor as your valedictorian that I share some reflection and some advice from our years and the ones yet to come. The relationships here with teachers at Reid Ross, the support of our closest friends and families, everything that they have taught us allowed us able to make it to this far, to this day that we have waited for all our lives. We shed some tears, laughed together, and faced difficulties and challenging times. We learned what it means to adapt and overcome strange and difficult times. We learned that when it comes to growing up into the adults that we are today, it is not as easy as we thought it was when we were younger. Yet, despite the challenging, chaotic times we faced, some more recent than others, we made it to this moment. Today, we hope to come when we begin this school year, which feels like years ago, but was only a couple of months. That is what defines our class. The ability to face whatever comes our way, no matter how unpredictable it may be, and use it to make us stronger defines who we are. Our ability to adapt and overcome is what makes this class special. Being the first class to have some normalcy in our senior year since the pandemic began allowed us to cherish this moment all the more. This moment we all hope and dream for. The moment we walked through the school doors all those years ago. I can be confident that our class will be okay. I can guarantee you that this class, defined by its ability to adapt to change, will make it in the end. The advice I will give you is to keep being that class that ventures into the unknown and comes out wiser, stronger, and more mature at the end of the curveball life throws at us. Keep this in mind when it comes to our future careers and the life we build for ourselves, and taking care of ourselves and each other will allow us to become the future changer makers that I know we are meant to be. We may not know what we're going to face, but taking the future we imagine and using it to grow is what our class is all about. I leave you with this token of advice. Keep being the class that faces any challenges and use what we learn to become the person you are proud to be. Take these moments and cherish them. So when you look back at them, you can prove that yes, we faced difficult times. Yes, we faced loss as we were growing up. But that didn't define us, and that did not stop us from reaching our goals. So class of 2022, remember the future is in your hands. All that matters is what you do with it. And at this time, I would like to welcome Reid Ross Assistant Principal, Ms. Etchison, to the podium.
Thank you, Ninoshka. At this time, it is my honor to present the 2022 candidates for graduation. Please hold all applause until all candidates have been recognized. Jonathan Michael Almond. Coleman A. Bennett. Josiah Blunt. Julius Bradshaw Mitchell. Nolia Broadway. Tremel D. Burns, Jr. Jaden Gabrielle Cato. Nasir J. Chalmers. James H. Chestnut. Treasure Monasia Cole. Maya C. Colvin. Joshua Cooper. Talia Council. Deborah Rosa Dixon. Katie Joy Dudding. Adriana Edwards. Daryl Nasir Edwards. Isaiah Emmanuel Finch. Maceo Joaquin Fowler. Miles Alexander Fowler. Zanila Fulmore. Jalen Xavier Gore. Jayla Janae Hannon. Shania Lachey Harper. Tanaya Shadia Crystal Harrison. Caitlin Heil. Mackenzie Huddleston. Camila Mayana Ingram. Chorus Lenoid Jackson Jr. Walter Luis Johnson. Jaslyn Nicole Jones. Brittany Nicole Eleanor Knox. Christopher Emmanuel Lee. Madison Elizabeth Loban. Darlette M. Lopez Maria. Kayla Michelle Mack. Asante Simone Mathewson. Marquan McDonald. Megan Ophelia McIntyre. Justin Montalvo. Yasmin Ortiz. Lawrence Donghyun Park. Marcos Perez. Tizai Marshawn Rivera Lopez. Derek Maurice Sampson. Megan Elizabeth Sands. Malia Michelle Singleton. Kylan Grace Smith. Mia Nicole Smith. Diavion Ariel Sykes. Trevez Taylor. Michael Techik. Angel Lynn Thomas. Ninoshka Jean-Jean. Isis Tupaz. Zeta Kai Tupaz. Paul William White III. Rolando Williams. Solange Shantae Charisse Williams. Tyrese Williams. Omarion Wright.
Thank you, Ms. Etchison. To our guests, after the turning of the tassel and the graduates proceed out of the Coliseum, please remain seated. Your graduates will be joining you shortly after they pick up their diplomas. No family members will be allowed in the graduate holding area. You may meet them outside. Seniors, please rise. By the power invested in me by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and Cumberland County Schools, I now pronounce you graduates of Reid Ross Classical School. Graduates, you may turn your tassels.